the live
All
on
right, we're
Twitter.
live, dude. We're live. Okay, now we're gonna get some links.
Okay.
I will send them to you on WhatsApp. So you have the YouTube link already, right?
I do. I do. I have the add calendar thing, so probably that's what I'm going to use.
We're on
I have
YouTube.
to go. Where do I have to go to add calendar? Oh, to Substack. So many platforms. Oh, here you are. Okay, YouTube.
We're on Twitter.
Copy. Okay.
It says test, but it's not test.
Okay, so this is eggs. I'm just going to go there right now. And
Hello, if you've already joined us,
we're
please bear with us as we kick things off.
Monika Slow here. Okay. How do I share this?
You got
Jesus. Okay.
Twitter?
Effort has done this 100 times. I haven't, so I'm a virgin, live virgin today. So
No, I
yeah,
didn't do this 100 times. This is my first time doing live. I've participated in many, but I didn't do my own.
I want to share this copy link. I want to see if I can put it on my feed, which shouldn't be that difficult. Okay, join us. Okay.
If you're with us, hey, Larry is with us. Oh, so cute. Hey, Larry. I see him on YouTube. Thanks for being with us.
Hi,
Just a
Larry.
moment.
The girls need makeup time. Here it is.
We
With
need
us.
prep
Hey,
time.
Larry. That's so cute. Hey, Larry. Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, so I see here.
Mute
Okay.
everything, please.
Yeah, I already did. So I was just checking that it's here. And then on X, I'm gonna go to your on X. How do I see the thing on X? I have to go to the
I
main thing,
gave you
right?
the link on WhatsApp.
Yeah, but
So just click on it.
yeah, okay. Oh, I can see us, and I'm gonna mute this thing. Hopefully, okay. Anything else from me?
Anything else? No. Twitter and YouTube, I think they're the right ones. Yeah, I see Twitter. Let me see it on my feed. If you're on Twitter and you're seeing this, please comment. That would be great.
Okay, I see
Bravo.
Alex. I see you're here. I don't
Thanks
know somebody.
for being patient. We are
Yeah,
doing this for the first time.
hopefully not the last.
Hopefully not the last. That's right. I don't see a stream on Twitter.
I do. I do.
You do?
It's
You
on
see us
Twitter.
there? Okay. I just see
No,
like,
no, 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 no. I see 9 views, but for some reason we are not
yeah, it's all
visible. It
black,
says
right?
like, and it's kind of going around.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
kind of
streaming on Twitter. That's funny.
reload. Should I put the YouTube one there?
No, YouTube is working. It's good. Twitter is not working. So what
Just
I
gonna
can
go to
do,
Twitter. Said, hmm,
give it another try.
patient. And I thought I was good with technology. Oh, ho, ho.
Were you just making a joke on me? You watch
No,
out.
no, no, no. No, I thought I was. I'm not implying anything else.
No, this is when you stream from one program, like I'm streaming from Riverside to all these other apps,
It's a little bit
then
more complex,
the
right?
integration, yeah, is not always working.
You're
Okay.
to
Well,
understand.
if
Okay.
Twitter is not working,
Interesting. I'm trying to leave the YouTube link in Twitter and it doesn't allow me to, it moves it to draft.
that
Are we being
that's
censored?
yeah, that's possible. But no, Twitter is not working for me. So I think what we'll do is we'll
Well,
just
let's
we'll
leave it
just
just in
start
case.
and talk and do our
Mhm.
live, and we'll
Yeah.
just upload the recording to Twitter later.
If anybody that is listening or something, they should go to YouTube. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sounds
You
good.
hear us? Yeah, we have 7 people on YouTube, but we don't have any people on
So hello
Twitter.
to those
Let's
7
see if
people.
I can remove Twitter. I don't think I can remove it. No. No.
So much to talk about, so much going on.
I know. Okay. I think I'll just edit the post. Um I'll try to put a YouTube link here.
That's
Go
what I tried.
to
So maybe you're
YouTube if
like,
you want to be with us live. And let's put the YouTube link, which is working. Update. Is it working? No, it's not allowing me to do that. Okay, let's go, dude.
okay, I'm gone. I'm good.
I'm
Let's
ignoring
get this.
technology now. Okay, we're on YouTube, and that's enough. Okay, let's see everyone that's with us: Israel, Alexandra, Larry, Nora. Great. Thanks for joining.
Let's
Thanks for
start.
joining.
Let's call
Grab a
this
cup of
that.
tea or a coffee. Should be fun.
Mm.
Okay, Monica. Hi.
Okay, how are
How
you?
are you, my dear?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I'm just totally psyched about this and getting really pumped about everything that is going on. You know, I'm always an optimist. So no matter what happens, I always see the bright side of everything or the polarity. So whatever people are feeling right now, I can go around and say, oh, it's not that bad. So I'm feeling good.
Good. I'm glad that you're good. Good,
And
because
you?
we need some good vibes and some uplifting energy.
Yes.
So I'm very glad we're doing this today. Hopefully, we can give people some good vibes.
There's a full moon today.
Is there
It's a
a
full
full
moon
moon
today.
today?
Yeah, yeah. It's a full moon
Okay.
in Leo. It's a very important. It's for me. It's my favorite full moon of the year because it's really an acknowledgement to our authentic self, to like showing up with who we are, who we came to be. So, and it's in confrontation right now with like, okay, should I do this for the collective or should I do this for my partner? Should I do this for the government or should I do the best that I could based on who I am? So that's the energy today. And it's very, very strong.
Mm. So it's like a confrontation,
Yes, it is.
confrontational energy. It's like
Full moon is confrontation, but what you're confronting is with something you're projecting. Sometimes we confront our fears and we think that the other thing, situation or thing is the bad thing, but actually is allowing us to see something that we don't want to see. So right now we also have a square with a planet that is very like erratic, which is
mhm.
Uranus, that rules Pluto. Sorry, Pluto and Aquarius. Yes. And so the interesting thing is this: is something has to give right now. We're at the point in our lives where we have to say, if we want to continue wherever we are, whichever part of the road, there's something that has to give if we want to move on. So if you want to stay, feeling sorry about yourself or keep on fighting about something, like you got to understand like what is it that you have in the toolbox and see if you have enough to continue or it's time to drop things and just take another perspective. So it's a very important full moon today. And I'm super happy that we started today because I knew it. So when you say the 12th, I'm like, this is the way to
You
start.
do you remember dates of full moons?
Yeah, I do astrology all the time, and I write every week. So I don't know if you have read my Substack. I write about the astrology.
Not
I know
yet.
where everything is all the time, but I'm writing always about the movement of the energies.
I'm reading your Substack all the time. The last one about Don Quixote I didn't read yet, but
Yeah,
it's on my reading
I
list.
really,
And yeah, so
yeah.
let's
When
start with that. You know what? So let's start with a quick intro in case we have someone
mhm,
with us on this live that doesn't know who you are or who I am. So if you could introduce yourself and the Substack and your
sure.
book and everything you do so that people know where to follow
Okay.
you.
So I'm an artist. My name is Monika. I was born in Colombia and I live in Miami. And I've been creating art for the last 30 years. So I do a lot of public art. That means that my art is in big spaces like airports, universities, subway stations, hospitals, etc., etc. And this is a bit like a long-term projects that I engage with. I do a lot of research, and then I hire fabricators, and then I have the pieces made, hopefully for forever, for a long time. So that's what I've been doing professionally for a long time, and completely devoted to that the last 10 years. And I moved here 2020, escaping from the matrix. And then that gave me so much time and space to actually start thinking about the kind of life that I was having, and realizing that I had been living in a matrix. I had been programmed. So it was like a big awakening for me. I had awakened in different ways, but this was like, oh, okay, so we've been programmed. So I devoted to studying Bitcoin. Then it went to Austrian economics. And yes, and I wrote a book.
When did it start when you said, "Oh, you know, I need to wake up from this slumber party. Something's not right."
Oh, well, things were in the 2010s already in New York. I was noticing that this thing about fake it till you make it was making me very uncomfortable, because I could fake it, but I hated going back home. I fake it.
Mhm.
I hated going to these parties, networking, and doing all the things that you're supposed to do. And then there was so much emptiness inside of me. So I knew that that was not going to last for a long time, but I didn't know what else was there. I had no
Mm.
idea that there's an option. And I was going through my journal yesterday to write something about next week, because we're ending like 8 year cycle. And I hadn't done any of Bitcoin, anything. So it's interesting. I was looking to understand what is the value and meaning of value in my life, without knowing that that value and money and understanding how the world works, that was what I was going to find. So it's very interesting. So I'm slow. I'm like a turtle. I'm a Taurus. So I'm slow but steady. So it took me several years to kind of go like, this is not working. Oh, this is not working. And then so the first thing that I ended was my marriage. And after that, I ended every single relationship that I thought I had with dealers, curator, like the whole art world. That is a big bubble. It's a big laundering, like money laundering, like terrible, terrible. So it took me a while. So by the time I got here, I was already with the idea I don't want to depend on them. And I have to have the courage to really do what I want to do, which is keep on doing art, but I'm going to do it my way, which is what I've been doing.
Wonderful. Okay, someone wrote in the comments, it's very funny, that moving to Miami is escaping the matrix. So what can I
Everything
say?
is
Living in
context.
Israel is escaping the matrix. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't matter where you are. You can get out of the matrix geographically wherever you are. It really doesn't. I don't think geographically it matters where you are.
No,
It's a state
it
of
was more the
mind.
perspective. It was more
Yeah,
like when I say I escaped from the matrix, I escaped from a program of like,
exactly.
okay, I belong to the art world and I have to do these things to succeed. Okay, I've done this and that. And I go home and I feel horrible, terrible. These people don't understand anything. And I don't understand why money is not working like that. Like I was always interested in like my value, but I was voicing my needs, and then I was the complicated one. So I thought there's something that is not happening. So when I had time for me during 2020, 2021, 2022, I realized that the program I've been, that was the matrix. And so that's when I started saying 2 or 3 years later, like I escaped from there, COVID and all this nonsense. I never follow any rules. So it was liberating for me to be in a place where I don't have to wear a mask. Nobody was chasing me down the road. And it felt like, okay, it's not just moving physically, it's moving intellectually, is moving spiritually, is moving emotionally from a place that I thought was safe.
Yep.
but it was safe because it was familiar. But that doesn't mean that it was really safe. I didn't know any other thing. So that changed for me incredibly.
I get it. Good. Thanks for clarifying. So, Monica, and on top of being an artist, you're also an astrologer and you're a
Yes.
Bitcoiner, and you teach people about Austrian economy and about finances or Bitcoin. Like, you do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I kind of like, when I have to like say who I am, I always say I'm a polymath because I'm very interested in many subjects. And what has happened in the last few years is that I managed to find a way how to synthesize everything that I care for. And I found out that Bitcoin was the best avenue to do that because with Bitcoin, you can speak in so many levels. Obviously, people think about money and financial security, and they think about property rights, and they think about privacy, and they think about like decentralization, like all the things that Bitcoin can offer you. So I was trying to translate those things also in more like intimate and emotional and spiritual realms because you can translate that even further. And so everything clicked to me. And I think that was one of the questions is like when things clicked to me is when I read Saifuddin's the Bitcoin Standard, and he explains low time preference. It was like a coconut fell on my head. I was like, what? Of course. And I realized that I had not understood that from the beginning because I was never taught to save. And my mom gave me everything, but she always said to me, and this is probably because my father died when I was 8, she said, enjoy your life every day. You don't know how long you have. He died very young. So she taught us how to have fun, how to have like a high time preference. New York is high time preference. So I never really, I mean, sometimes I save, but it was not an
But
incentive.
maybe you want to explain for those who don't know what is low time preference versus high time preference, just in a one
A
sentence,
little
if
bit.
you could.
Okay, so there are many like Austrian economics for me is the most elegant of all social sciences because it's very logical. And I never wanted to be logical, but now I'm becoming very logical because it gives you some axioms that are like the base of everything.
But
So
hold on, if you're gonna do like a long answer, you keep it
no,
because you're
I'll
still
keep
in
it.
your introduction, and I need to do my introduction, and then just a short one. What is low
Okay,
time
low time
preference versus
preference
high
is
time
you
preference?
forgo anything that you want to have at this moment because you think of your life as very valuable because you don't have that much time in your life. So you say, I'm going to save $50 this week instead of buying 3 cappuccinos or whatever, and then I'm going to put them in a money that is sound, that is not going to inflate, and then with time I'm going to have that money like appreciating. And so I'm thinking for my future. So I'm not like
Right,
living day by day.
right,
Basically, that's what it is. And high
perfect.
time preference is consumerism at the top,
Yep, yep,
like swiping credit cards just because, oh, I have another credit card. Oh, I have 5,000. Oh, you don't have $5,000. You are
right.
going to create more credit. So that's the difference.
Wonderful. Okay, keep going. You were talking about the
Okay,
fact
so
that you're a polymath.
I'm a polymath. So I also wrote a book here. I wrote
Yes.
a book in the
Show it
last three
again. It's not
years.
enough. I want people to see the name.
So it's
Okay.
called The Nature of My Reality.
Yeah.
And like everything that I do is pretty like my own style. So I
Mhm.
design it. I hired somebody to do the copy editing because I needed to have bouncing back information. So I started writing. I always been writing all my life, journals and journals. But then 2000, what was it, 2021, I started being serious about like what would happen if I write a book. And I said, who's going to buy that? And I said, doesn't matter, I'm going to do it. So that's when I started writing it, and I self-published it last year. And I'm super happy because it's an inner dialogue about me coming out of the matrix, but at many levels: psychological, emotional, financial. I do speak about Bitcoin, a little bit about Austrian economics, about how I have used astrology as a language. And this is very important. A lot of people think that astrology is a belief system. I will defer completely. It's a language and it's a tool. So it's a tool
Right.
that I use in order to understand the universe.
Okay. Wonderful. So if you're new to Monica, please follow Monica on Twitter and on Substack. She has a
Yeah.
Substack, and if you sign up as a paying subscriber, then you get a lot of valuable content. recordings that she does. She mixes all the topics we just talked about, um, and her book. So, yeah, feel free to
Yeah.
reach out for that. And for myself, yeah, for those who may not know me, so I am a marketing expert after 20 years of working in the intersection of marketing and technology in different global companies, startup companies, as a marketeer and a chief marketing officer, running big marketing operations globally. I decided that it's time to open a new chapter and start all over again in a new career as a journalist and a podcaster. And that's what I do today full time. It started like that understanding started around the COVID time, around 2021, where I was a lot in the streets for like a couple of years. I was an activist. COVID really pissed me off. And the intervention in my life and trying to dictate for me what I should or shouldn't do for myself and for my son. So I
Mm.
took action. I went to the streets. I was very active politically and socially in Israel. But then I started creating content in English and in Hebrew. And I was becoming like a bridge between people around the world and Israel, because what was happening around the world, what was happening in Israel, was not coming out from here because of the media blackout and because of the lies and the propaganda of the media. So I was kind of sharing everything that wasn't being said in the mainstream media, and there were other good people that were doing the same. But I carried on doing that, not just during COVID, but then I expanded to more topics. And I decided slowly but surely that that is where my purpose and mission in life lies, in speaking out and in telling the truth and in um, sharing what I'm seeing with a lot of courage and conviction. And that's why I started my podcast as well, called You're the Voice, as I was discovering my voice and the impact that it has on people and on the world. And yeah, it's been like a year and a half now since I started my podcast, and it's been going really well, like much better than I expected.
Oh, yeah.
65 episodes so far, and
Mm.
more than 3 million views. It's quite incredible. And I've been interviewing super interesting people from all different walks of life and all different areas, not just one topic. So I focus on a lot about money and Bitcoin and the financial deceits, but also about health and climate and the new world order that is shaping up.
Mm.
Um, Israel is undergoing a real war here in the new Middle East order. So I've been speaking about that a lot too, and interviewing people like survivors of the October 7th massacre, and speaking about things that, yeah, it's quite hard and people don't want to talk about. And so I have a Substack also called You're the Voice, with almost 5,000 subscribers there and quite a lot of paying subscribers. And this year I promised my paying subscribers that I'm going to do live sessions like this for them every month and answer their questions. So if you're not one of my subscribers, head over to Substack and sign up. Um, and listen to the podcast. Yeah, and you can find me on probably any and every social media platform that there is, and also on a protocol called Noster. If you're
Yes.
a Bitcoiner, and even if you're not, Noster is a non-censorable protocol, and there are many different apps like Primal, for example, that you can sign up and have your Noster account. It's pretty great, very different, but very good. Okay, that was a little bit about us. I would like to ask you guys, please share this link in
Mhm.
your different platforms. That would be really great. And since Twitter is not working for us, after this session, we will upload the video to Twitter and to Substack and to other places. And it would be really great if you helped us share this so that more people see it. That would be fantastic.
Thank
So
you.
yes, thank you. And the next thing is, if you want to see this kind of live session like we're doing right now every month from Monika and me, then let us know in the comments, or in the live chat now. We would love to hear your feedback. You can put it now, you can put it in the end, put it in the comments. We will also put a comment on YouTube with all of our contact details. So you feel free to follow us from there. Okay, let us know if you want to see more of those every month. All right, so Monica, we put together a few topics that we wanted to
Yeah.
discuss. And you know what? Let's start with actually with the question we got from one of our subscribers, from Larry. He asked a really cool question. Let me see where it is in our very long document.
Stop it.
All right. Here it is. He asked, did Bitcoin immediately click for you both due to your life experiences and what you were seeing in the world? Or did you have to go way down the rabbit hole like most others to fully believe and understand it and understand Bitcoin? That's a very good question. And you started answering it. Monica,
A
do you
little
want
bit.
to add anything
Yeah.
else?
I think like with everything that I do, I like to really understand things like deeply. So I tend to do this when I don't know something I'm very interested. If I cannot manage by myself, I will find the right educator to teach me. So I went and I started paying for classes on Bitcoin first. I wanted somebody who can actually answer every question because I knew I had to head to X or Twitter, but I was like, this is too confusing for me. Everybody has an opinion. I don't like opinions. I want to speak to people who have experience. So that's when I found Typhidian and I joined his membership. And I've been, he's my mentor. I mean, like my prime mentor. So I have like, I don't know, one of the best people that I can ask the best questions. And then, but then something clicked with the low time preference. I read the Fiat standard, like everything was making sense, but it was not until he published the book of the principles of economics that my head went like the emoji, like that, and I said, "Oh my God!" And that's why I teach that if every Bitcoiner understands Austrian economics, not all of it, just the basic axioms, you're good. You can just understand why Bitcoin really works and why fiat doesn't work, or shitcoins don't work, or even gold doesn't work at that degree. So I thought I think that was what made me committed to it. So I'm
Mhm.
still in the rabbit hole, but I don't think that it's a rabbit hole you say, "Ooh, I got it. I found the pearl." You keep on going because you start with the money, then you want to understand how it works, the network. So I got my miner a couple of years ago. I got a node, and then you start like contributing to the network in so many different levels. And so the next level for me was the community. That's when I started like reaching out, going to conferences as a volunteer. Never volunteered in my life, so I'm very proud to say that I volunteer for Bitcoin. And then slowly starting to talk and being in panels. So it's just, I don't know, it's like a way of life. It's a for me it's a state of consciousness. So yeah.
But when you first heard about it, did it click for you?
Okay, so I heard about it 2013. Very good
And
friend
it didn't.
from, no, I was busy trying to get a divorce.
Okay, I
So
get it.
how do you focus into things? So, but she told
Yeah.
me she found gold, and I trust this woman very much.
Hmm.
And I remember she saying to me, she came and she said, we went for lunch. She goes like, listen to me,
She
put
was
a
trying to
thousand
shake you.
dollars. She was like, and I was like, I was so depressed. I was like, not in a good place. And I remember I said, listen, Adriana, like, whatever, like, I'm in another place. I cannot concentrate. And I don't feel bad about it because I wouldn't have, let's say I had $1,000, I wouldn't have understood Bitcoin the way I do if I had gone that way,
Right.
because I was not in the right place.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Okay, good. And for me, I was working with startups and in the tech scene, and in I ignored it several times because I kept on seeing it or hearing about it from the techies, from the startups, where people were talking about it in the context of ICOs. Like there were initial coin offerings for shit coins, for cryptocurrencies. And I didn't know the difference back then, but I kept hearing about these ICOs. And the more frequent they became, like the more ICOs there were, the more I was suspicious. There was like,
Mm.
what is this thing, this fad? Like everyone is excited about creating a new coin and everyone's creating a new coin. This seems like a fad and it's gonna a gimmick. It's gonna go
Yeah.
away. Like this is not sustainable. So and I didn't bother to learn the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. It was all like in the same basket. So I ignored it several times. And then in 2021, after my bodily autonomy was aggressively violated by the state, I was already conscious for the state is, they don't give a fuck about me. They would violate my rights any and every second, not just the state. Now I knew that there were more actors, bad actors out there that don't give a fuck about me or my son or our lives. And it's all an illusion trying to make us think that they care about us. And so I was already like on the guard, and anything that came my way, I was like open to hear it, to listen to it, and saying, okay, if now they've done this with my health and my bodily autonomy, the next thing they're going to do is my private property. They're going to come for what's mine, because
Yeah.
if they went for the holy of holiest, the body, you know
Yes.
so
Yes.
what's going to stop them from doing the same in property and stuff that I have? And I wanted to hedge what's mine. So that's where I started learning about money. I mean, I was actively looking for, so who can tell me about the money scam?
Mm.
And people can't, like, I approached a few people and they, for the life of them, they couldn't explain it to me. It was so annoying. I was like looking for people to answer my questions and I didn't find it. And my ex-husband kept on saying, "Get Bitcoin already because, I want to give you the child support funds with Bitcoin because he's not in Israel, he's overseas. He lives in Australia." And we were using PayPal, and PayPal was grifting 15% fee on
Or
every
yeah.
dollar that we were passing, and which were not a lot of dollars, but their 15% was heavy, or 10, whatever. And so he kept saying, "Get Bitcoin so I could pay you in Bitcoin." And I'm like, "I'd love to. Can you teach me? Like, no one can teach me." And he said, "Go figure it out yourself." Until this one day, a guy came and he's the leader of Israel's Bitcoin community. Um, and he said, "I've been watching you and I've seen your work during COVID. You do great work in exposing the corruptions and the lies of the government and the globalists and everything. I think you're ready to learn about Bitcoin. Like your red pill, I want to orange pill you." And I'm like, "Bring it on." And then when he started answering my questions, everything he said was so spot on for me. So when you're asking if it clicked for me, 100% it clicked because I was
Mm.
ready and because everything he was telling me, I was already primed for it because I understood the lies of the institution and the establishment and how they are using and abusing their power to exert our energy and our livelihood. And so it didn't surprise me at all that they're doing the same thing with fiat and that Bitcoin operates in a totally different way, like 180 degrees from that. So I clicked straight away. And before I was diving deep into it, I was already convinced. Like I was like, okay, there's something huge here. If
Mm.
my learning now is going to prove to me that this is what I think it is, then this is huge. This is like the biggest
Yeah.
discovery I had made in my life. For me, it was
Yeah.
like huge because it gave me so much hope that there's a way to actually help humanity come out of this very dark place that we are in. So I was exposing and exposed to all this darkness. And so that was such
Yeah.
good news for me. And then I kept on studying, because you do need to put in the time to study.
Yeah.
And
It's the
and
most,
yeah, maybe
sorry.
that's the time to say I am a member of various groups, or forums, WhatsApp groups, whatever, for beginners for Bitcoin. I'm just there because from time to time, like, I contribute um by giving some content or whatever, or answer a question here and there. And I see so often that people in those groups, they're there because they're curious, right? Because they want to know,
Mhm.
because they want to learn. But they rely too much on that format of asking someone a question and waiting for their answer. And I believe that that format is good if you're doing the work and then you're coming with questions that are productive, like you've learned something, read something, or you watched a video, or you've heard a podcast, and you're in the process of learning, but you're doing it yourself. And then you have a question mark, because that's not normal and natural, right? Because something comes up and you want to clarify, you want to validate that you got it right, you want to make sure, or you want to deepen your understanding. So then you come and you ask a question. That's great. I mean, that format of being in a community with other people that know and asking them those kind of questions, that's great. But if all you do is rely on those groups or forums or communities to suck the energy out of them, thinking that they will give you everything, like they will give you the knowledge, I'll just sit there passively, and they'll actively, like, throw all their knowledge at me, then that's a form of, like, being a leech. You're being like, you're not being sovereign, you're not taking responsibility. Like, taking responsibility is really taking the time to sit down and studying and understanding that this is it's my wish to know this topic, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's anything else. It's not relevant just for Bitcoin, it's relevant for everything. But in this topic, because it like, you really have to put in the work to understand it, then I see it so often. And that's something that I want to make people aware. Like, if you are curious about Bitcoin and you do want to learn and you have questions, put in the time to read a book, to take a course, to watch a video, to listen to a podcast. There are so many things you can do, and people will give you all these resources, no problem. But you'll have to do the
Yeah.
work
I
initially.
have I have a different approach. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's doing their thing. I'm very generous with my time, or I used to be, but now I only approach people who approach me already with a commitment. So if people are willing to invest their time in learning, so we set up a time, and so I do the Mi Primer Bitcoin curriculum, which was created in El Salvador,
Yeah.
initially for children and then for university. And the curriculum is open source. So I started using it almost 2 years ago, and it's been a great tool because in 12 hours, you're not going to be a master in Bitcoin, but you're going to learn the essentials for you to actually know where to start and go deeper. Now, you can, by the end of the 12 hours, you can buy your sats, put them in a hot wallet or in a cold wallet, but at the very end, as you say, the person has to act. Bitcoin is not a passive thing. It's something you
Yeah.
have to do, because if you want to get out of the idea of like being in a society where things are made for you, you better stay with fiat. Like, don't even bother about, oh my god, what is this Bitcoin? No, it's not for you. That's what I say to people. It's not for
If you're
you.
not going to
Don't worry.
introduce
So
change in your life. Yeah.
yeah, so I respond only to people who are serious about it, and only that. And who is not serious, I don't waste my time, because I had groups and stuff, and then I realized, no, my time is more valuable right now if I put it somewhere else.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Okay. So I think we've answered Larry's question. Let's keep going. So the topic we want to talk about is how governments rob people of their productivity. Um, and I think it's clear with taxes how they rob us from our energy and time and productivity, just by taking a cut of what we work very hard for. So taxes are quite clear. Um, Inflation, I think, is less clear for most people because they hear that term all the time in the news and the newspapers and the just public discourse. Like people talk and mention the word inflation, and everyone thinks that they understand what it is. But until you really dive deep, I don't think you actually grasp the meaning of that hidden tax. It's really just another tax, and the government is basically robbing us of what is ours through inflating the money supply. And even less clear than that, like even less clear than inflation, is welfare and subsidies,
Oh,
because that is like long term, very long term erosion of what's ours, of our wealth, right? And so I'd love to talk about that a little bit. um, there's a documentary that I've watched recently called The American Race Game, and it really describes how the US government was creating a welfare state around the Black community to really put everyone under welfare regime, and by that making so many people poor. I mean, they were already poor, but they were pretending that, the welfare state is going to help them, that's going to be the solution, where in fact it made them even more parasitic and relying on the state. Obviously not everyone, but just if we generalize it, like the society. And another example that I have from Israel is, there is a lot of welfare and subsidies here for people, but another thing that the Israeli government has done, I think, to rob people from their what's theirs and their hard earned money and even skills, is when you have migration of people from another country to your country, and I'm talking about legal migration here, right? Not illegal migration. Then you have people that are educated and maybe have some positions or professions that they can work in the new society that they come into. And one example is when the Russian or former Soviet Union immigrants came to Israel in the 80s and 90s. Many of them were very well educated, engineers, doctors, and they held good professions. And the Israeli government was basically telling them, your certificate or your profession means nothing here, you have to start all over. And then you saw like a wave of doctors and engineers working as cleaners, and just having to make ends meet and provide for their families. And the fact that they had worked maybe 20, 30 years and got a certification and a profession, and they got something in life. They couldn't take their money with them, they had to leave it behind in the USSR. And now they were also taken their profession. So that was horrible to see. And I think only when I learn about those things now, again, like the concepts of welfare, the concepts of subsidies, the concepts of inflation, then that example comes back to mind, because it's another form of usury, of like the state, the government, robbing people of their productivity and hard earned time and energy and money, of
can
course.
I
Yeah,
can I
that's it.
say point of view?
Of
So
course.
it's interesting. Robbing is an interesting word that got my attention. So, okay, robbing is taking things away from you that belong to you, right? So, yes, in a way, we're being robbed, but part of the attack of being taking things away from you is the ignorance of not knowing how money works, and the ignorance of understanding that when governments use intervention in the sense that they are going to inflate the money supply, they're going to impose. It's interesting how you say the word taxes in Spanish is called impuesto. It means something that is imposed on you. It's not a given. It's
Mm,
something that in many places here in America started like a temporary thing that right now, there's a saying, there's nothing more like how do you say, that extends so long, more than the temporary. Like you make a mandate that is temporary, that becomes like
Of
forever.
course, the
So
temporary
I think
becomes
that the,
the normal.
yeah, so the root of it, of poverty, is actually allowing governments to intervene, to tell you how much is the cost of an egg, why you have to stop producing milk, and something like that. Because at the very end, you have to understand the markets. And we go back to the basic of Austrian economics. Like, if you really want to understand, and I'm telling you guys, it's not difficult to understand Austrian economics. It's the most elegant, simple way of understanding that. If you do, let's say that we want to trade something right now, I'm here with you, Efrat, and I want to sell you something. If we decide on a price, you always have the right to tell me yes or no, because you are going to value the what I give you in relationship with you consider a necessity. So then we establish like like something in exchange. So a lot of markets start like that. People in towns voluntarily um, trading with one another goods that they have. I have an apple, you have an orange, I have a pair of jeans, you have a t-shirt, something like that. But there's no coercion. People
Mhm.
actually do it voluntarily. So the who actually set up the price for this market, and who is going to let you know whether you're successful with your items, is the consumer. It's not the government. But a
Mhm.
lot of people, unfortunately, the last century, many countries, including this one, we have subsidies, because it's a way for the government to support whatever the minorities. And I am so against that, because minorities want to extend the hand, they want to be taken like care, but then this extending of the hand and give me makes them less probable to working. Like, if you don't have a choice, you go out and you sell something. Believe me, I've been in those situations where I don't have a choice, and that's when I became very creative. So in
Mhm.
a way, understanding, and I know Israel is very socialist. Europe is unbelievable how people living in Europe don't understand how socialist they are. And it's not that I want to badmouth that kind of ideology, but it just doesn't work economically. It doesn't. It's all against the same people. It leads you to poverty. Tell me a single country that has been socialist for a long time and is thriving. They're not. They're not. So I think that is, again, goes back to choice of, like, okay, so I'm interested in money and I'm interested in stacking sats, Bitcoin. Should I really learn what money is and understand what's the difference between capitalism and socialism, and why certain things are working or not? Now, the United States is not 100% capitalist. I mean, this is a failed government at this point. We were about to go into socialism version, whatever, 3.0. And we're very close. But even right now that we have I'm I'm reading a lot of stuff and listening to what's happening here, because the hysteria over Elon and Dodge and all that, from the perspective of the Austrians, is a little bit edgy, because you can't even, like, what he's doing, according to the Austrians, is still intervening, because he's actually saying this is not. Now, as a person, I want to find out where all this money is going. So there's a part of me, and I think that you posted that. I think Preston said something like that in the last thing a couple of days ago. So there's a curiosity from my side to want to know what's going on. But another part is like, dude, don't intervene that much, because we should allow the market to regulate itself. Last thing I wanted to say is that taxes, and I'm going to get in trouble saying this, but I'm going to say it. Taxes in the United States are not legal. They're annual contracts that you sign with your own volition. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to get out. You should do your own research. There are ways to get out. But right now, there's a lot of people on Twitter going like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to pay the taxes. I'm going to," like, just don't pay them. I mean, but you have to find a way how to do it. There are ways, because the 16th Amendment was never really ratified by everybody, all the states. So and this is no legal advice, this is no financial advice, but there are ways to get, like, to really understand what's going on, because we have been programmed to believe that these are right things. You know, the United States didn't have the IRS for a long time, and we were able to thrive for a couple of centuries without taxes. They were
Mhm.
using tariffs, they were using other stuff. So that's I think the reason why Trump wants to bring it back. But the debt that we have, 36 trillion, is too big for that. So we have to understand where money is, what makes it inflated, and how are we contributing. So I ask everybody, so did you get another mortgage? Are you going to get another loan in the bank? Do you have a credit card? Because every time that you swipe that card, every time you ask for a loan, every time you have another mortgage, your money is being debased. You're part of the system. It's not the government. The government is not taking things from you. You, with your ignorance, are actually contributing to this scam. So we got to become more responsible about it. Like I stop like whatever credit. I know there's some people that are borrowing from Fiat to get to Bitcoin. I don't want to go there. Maybe I'm a fool, but I just think it's too complicated to just keep on playing the system, you know?
So what are you saying? Don't the last thing you said, like don't play games in order to
Well,
come
for
into this?
instance, Sailor is using Fiat to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And we see a little bit what's kind of happening right now with the government and with the Bitcoin reserve. Like, we don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the game is here because people are 3 or 4 steps ahead. Now,
Uh-huh.
as a person that, like I've seen people, they put these people up there in the pedestal and say, oh, if this person is doing it, I'm going to do it. Well, be very wise to know what you're doing because if you're going to be borrowing from your bank, I mean, every day, I get emails in my email that says borrow 30,000 at 0%.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it because it's going to debase the money anyway. And I just don't have that kind of brain to be playing those games. I prefer to stack sats in a different way. But some people, they love to do casino.
Yeah.
Go for it. I just think that it doesn't make sense to me because we're trying to do this, but then we're taking advantage of this, and at the end, how are we going to end? This is going to end up really bad. That's what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
think the one of the clear characteristics of human behavior under the fiat system is recklessness and not really you mentioned before high time preference and consumerism. It's like you don't really think long term and you don't really dwell on the consequences of your actions, and because the system is designed in this way to not make you think about it and to constantly just take cheap money, cheap debt, and just use it.
Mhm.
And I think debt can be a it's not necessarily just a bad thing. It can be a good thing if you know how to work with it and if you already are stable financially or economically. So it really depends on your situation. But definitely, if you are not well off or you don't have a stable ground, playing with debt is super dangerous because that's your ticket to, the black,
Disaster.
yeah,
And this
disaster.
is important. Like when you think about value, you always have to go back to subjective appreciation. Like you say, okay,
Yes.
do I have it what I need? And you say, what is that? Do you have a roof? And do you have food? And do you have more than just 1 month? Are you covered? Do you pay your mortgage? Or you paying the school of your children? Whatever. Do you have food in the fridge? You have to kind of start thinking that way. So then, if you want to go to the casino and borrow the money, do what other people are doing, that's on you. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. The thing is, like anything that you do, you have to know how it works, and you have to understand the difference between fiat money and why it is a scam and why are you contributing to the scam, because everybody that asks for a credit is actually making the soup have more water, so there's less taste and more water. And so
Diluting the
this is
soup. Yeah.
diluting. And so and that's when, if you really want to make sense, and for me that's why it was so important to understand it. And I'm still confused with certain things. I'm still trying to understand governments like El Salvador or Milei. I really read everything they say or they write, and I ask Saifidian every week in class because I really want to understand, because it's not that simple. Everything is so complicated, but it's doable. And we're in this moment right now that nobody knows what's happening. I mean, to be honest, it's like that. And I'm going to say something that I had in my mind the last 2 days meditating. What if Bitcoin is a hoax? Deep breath.
What? What?
What if
Why?
it's a
What? Can you
hoax?
repeat that?
Why
What
if Bitcoin is a hoax?
is a hoax? Mm-hmm.
Could be nothing. And then I
Yeah.
thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so what if it is? And so I said, how would I feel? And I said, well, it wouldn't be a nice feeling, but I I am responsible for the choices I've made until now. So it will be more about not, oh, I'm disappointed they lied to me. It's like, no, I am my bad. I trusted this. So it's not like somebody took things away from me. That's why I was, when you say robbing, the government may rob you if you allow yourself to be robbed. So if you don't want your government to rob you, learn about money, learn about the history of money, read The Creature of Jekyll Island, get Saifedian. If you need PDFs for free, I'm allowed to give them for free from Saifedian. I supported him a lot, and doesn't matter. If you want, if it's the questions I don't have money to read, Jesus Christ, Google it. There's ways to get that
Many
information. But
free
you,
resources out
I mean, really, a podcast, but you have to invest time in yourself and in education. But if you don't, fine, stay in the fiat world and keep on thinking that you're going to be saved with subsidies, and, and cry harder, as we say in the Bitcoin, like, yeah,
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think the first thing you understand when you really get um the design of the current system, of the fiat system that we operate in, is that you have to take responsibility of yourself and start making changes if you want to step out of it, because it's possible. It's
mhm,
possible. And as you said, is Bitcoin a hoax? Yeah, there is some probability for it. I think it's very low, but
yeah,
it
very low.
exists, and I can live with that probability in my risk reward calculation for life. Um, so I'm putting my bets on it because of the amount of work and studying that I've been doing, showing me that it's a pretty small bet relatively to the risks that I have of keeping what I have in the current system,
Yeah,
or putting everything on things like gold or stocks or bonds or things like that. So I prefer to take the risk and do it, rather
yes.
than being
But this
hurt.
is
Like the probability of me being hurt by keeping everything in fiat is huge.
it's bigger. And I think that, it really says the difference between like fiat, centralized, so somebody's doing this thing against you, or net, like Bitcoin and the network, and you are part of it. So I don't know if you know, Bob Burnett, that he always has he's a miner, and he says this beautiful,
I just watched a
uh,
great panel that he participated in the
yeah,
Bitcoin Day in Naples. I put it on
yes.
my Twitter,
Oh,
so if
great.
you want to
Bob
watch it,
is,
it's 40 minutes
he's a
of
friend. It's
mining.
great. He has this,
Wonderful.
he said, has an analogy between like, some miners are like in big pools that they're owned by big people, and a lot of people are afraid of that. Oh my God, BlackRock and
Yeah.
whoever, they're gonna take it, the things. Okay, all right, all right. So he calls them the elephants. And then there are people like me that I have a little miner, and right now little miners are finding rewards. So it happens. So he says, but if we have so many little miners that are rabbits, when the bad guy comes, guess who's going to be shot first? The big elephant, because it's
Of course.
slow and visible. So the idea is this: is like you can participate protecting the network by having a miner, having a node, and you can have more than one. You can put a node in any computers. You don't have to mine if the electricity in your area is very high, but you can actually protect the network, and the nodes are super important because the nodes are helping the network to be safe. So it again, it's something that makes you accountable, because you have to learn what a node is, how do you connect it, and I know you have a node as well. So it's a process. It's a
Mhm.
process. I think it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, that I read Lynn saying you're not a Bitcoiner until you don't have a node or a miner. And I remember I was like, oh God, okay, now I have to get that. I'll get it.
I just
But
want to
it makes
own Bitcoin. Leave me alone.
yeah, no, but I thought, like, why is she saying this? She's an engineer as well. So I was saying, why is she saying this? All the engineers make sense. Like, I know Preston is an engineer, Saifedian is an engineer, Lynn is so when you listen to engineers, they know what works and they don't work. So she's saying this, there must be something logical about it. And
Mhm.
when I learned, obviously I didn't get the minor the next day. It took me a while to watch a lot of videos, understand. I was like, because it was still like magic what was happening. But now it's more about understanding how it is. So, and when I say that Bitcoin is a hoax, it's not, it's more like I don't know, like I'm abducted by another civilization, and then you say, you were not in Earth, something like that, because I am including anything right now. Like, I don't know what's going on. And the little thought, what if Bitcoin? I said, look, Bitcoin can go to zero. I don't think so, because we're more Bitcoiners right now, like buying it. And if anything, right now, the big guys are investing a lot of it. Now, how much of it is going to be in the market? That's another question. That's why we have to keep on stacking.
Right. Yes. And there are many other concerns or fears that people have around Bitcoin. We're not going to talk about all of
No.
them. This is it can be another live for another
Yeah.
time, but yeah, everything is valid, but just like, you have to do your own risk assessment and decide what you're going to do. Okay, let's move on, talk about the power structures and how the current system, we chose really light topics, right? Power structure. how Fiat, how Fiat dictates. No, I mean, I think it's good because even those heavy subjects, I think it pushes us to always also look at the human aspect of it, and the consciousness side of it, like you call it, right? Like, what, as a human, as an individual, what does it mean for you, right? Because you look at a complex big system, and then you always want to position yourself in that picture.
But
You want.
that's why the axiom, I mean, there are three things that I value a lot in Austrian economics. So the first one is like value is subjective, and my time is scarce, therefore is valuable. So this is important. Second one will be long-term preference, which we spoke. But the third one is also the most important of all, which Mises, who was one of the first starters of Austrian economics, named his opera maxima magnus, human action. And this is super important, because when you do all the rabbit hole that I did with individuation and Carl Jung and understanding my psychology and what is going to be revealed, and I want to free myself from the matrix. When I started studying human action, and I'm already having the work of shadow work and individuation, I'm like, duh, this is the same thing. It's like, I am responsible for my own decisions. And he says something like this: every decision you make in your life, all of them, is economic. No, yeah, think what you eat, where you sleep, if you're going to walk with shoes or without shoes. Everything is economical. So when you realize that, then you start becoming more discerning about what choices you're going to make, because you're going to start valuing what you have and you don't have, what you need and you don't. So that gives you the perspective of saying yes or no. Somebody comes and says, I'm going to give me that. And you say, no, you're stealing from me. And then, you take your gun and you kill it. No, I'm joking. But you protect your thing, because you know that is something that you care. So at the very end, everything is rooted back to the idea that you are responsible for your life. And it is depending on your own decisions, how that life is going to show. So if there's some power structures like hierarchies, it's obvious. In centralized world, there's always a hierarchy. There's always somebody who's at the top, somebody who's a treasurer, somebody who's cleaning the bathroom, somebody who's like, have a slave, and the slave also wants to work with the other one. He's afraid of being free. And so it's a choice, and this is what I feel in, and I'm not putting Bitcoin as a up there, because I think there's still power struggles in there. The power struggle is not with the other authority, but with yourself. How
Mm,
much of freedom do you have with yourself? How much of understanding you have of your own values? How much are you saying to yourself, oh, I'm going to ask a better price, or I'm going to say no with that time, or I'm going to go and tell somebody I want that. So it
mm,
has a lot to do your power, and this is coming from astrology. So power is the planet Pluto. Pluto in your chart means this is the place where you're not empowered. What? Yeah. So what do I need to be powerful? I say, well, you have to go across polarity point. You have to go to Venus, Taurus, and Venus says, do you have food? No? Okay, get food. Do you have shelter? No. What else do you need? Well, I need this and this and that. Get that. That's when you're empowered, because then you have a leverage to go and do whatever you want, because you're not going to be the subject of somebody else's will. So, for instance, in living in different countries, unfortunately, some people live under regimes that they don't have a voice. That's why they escape. They go to other places where they can speak. Probably United States, until we know it, is one of the only ones that protects your speech. But we're about to lose it. We're about to lose it. So it's
Dude,
understanding.
you know that that's not true. You know?
No, that
On the
we're about to lose it.
surface, in your constitution, it's true, but in reality, you're being
No,
suppressed as well.
it is, but you have to know, this is why another thing that I'm studying is called natural law, common law. So you have to understand that the constitution that we had is not the same one that it is right now being played, because the one right now has a lot of statutes and a lot of legalese. But when you go back to common law and you see what it was written at the very beginning, and you stand up for those rights. I'm taking classes. It's very complicated what I'm doing, because it's like learning another language. It's like I'm learning legal lingo, and I still every time I finish a class, it's like, oh my god, this is so complicated. But it's showing you that you can actually stand up and be sovereign.
Right.
But you got to do the work. I cannot say, call me a lawyer. Actually, you don't call a lawyer when you're in trouble. You just go blah 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 blah, and then you're willing to risk whatever they're going to take away. For instance, one example, very stupid. They use this biogeometry, whatever you call it, for the eyes when you get in and
Biometric.
out. Biometric, well, whatever. Biometric. So it's been a while I decline, and I know how to do it in a way. And by the way, that's not something that you are obliged to do. That's not. So what you do when you present, always be kind. Don't go fighting. Don't go saying bad things. You just go with your passport. You open the page and you say, I decline to have my picture taken. Thank you. And they immediately say, okay, ma'am. They come back and they say, like the last time, they say, but that's going to change. And I say, all right, I'll meet you then. Like, I'm not, but I know exactly what to say. Same thing happened with the masking, and like I was trying
Yep.
to be forced to be, and so I wrote a letter. That's when I understood this thing is for real. Like in the middle of COVID or whatever, I was finishing a big project with the government of Boston, with the mayor of Boston, and they were like, I mean, it was already 2022, but they wanted me masked and they wanted me with the test. And I said, forget it. So I went to these Telegram groups and I said, I need that famous letter everybody's using that says that above me, there's only God and below me is the law. And I said, I mean, what do I have to do to lose? Nothing. I wrote the letter, and the mayor of Boston allowed me to do whatever I wanted, because
Wow.
she knew that I knew that she knows that I'm right. So this is what I'm teaching a little bit here, is like, look, you want to be free. There's so many ways to do it, but you have to do the homework. Now,
Yeah.
you don't want to, do you? I don't, you don't have to be as crazy as I am. I don't have children. I don't have pets. So, and I'm fearless. So,
I love it. I mean, yeah, I did some of these things several times during COVID. And yeah, you have to find the power within. First of all, to understand that you are the sovereign, and then to exercise that power. And that's not easy
yes.
for most people. Like standing up and
No.
saying no, or these are my boundaries, or I will not allow this and that. That is not easy for most people.
You have because you have to do a lot of inner work. So I worked
Mhm.
for a while with Gabor Mate, and Gabor taught me. I did some. He's the trauma guy, let's say, and he has these incredible workshops. And if you want to really understand what he's doing, you should watch the movie "The Wisdom of Trauma." It's online. Bring Kleenex. It's you can weep for a long time. So, in the process of understanding what means to be authentic and to be my own person and to be sovereign, I have to understand what are the parts of myself that I'm exchanging and trading for security.
Mhm.
So if I'm afraid of being homeless, or I'm afraid of not being accepted in a group, or I'm afraid of losing my job, for sure, I'm going to trade being myself for the security of having a paycheck, having a husband, having the boat, having whatever. So the question is like, how much or how important is my authenticity? Because maybe if I forgo all that, I know that I'm going to find other things like that in the future because I'm aligning with my own sovereign being. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I learned the most. And for me, that clicked with everything else. So I'm not afraid of this or that or that. And whenever I'm a little bit afraid, I go, I'm going to study it so I know it. And I'm not just trying to copy paste somebody. So you need to be courageous.
And you know what? I think that whenever you're afraid, it's an invitation to go inside to understand what kind of
Yes.
fear is that now, and start
Yes.
talking to yourself and get to the bottom of that specific fear. Because
Mhm.
the fear, there are so many shapes and forms for fear, and it comes in many different sizes. Um, it will masquerade to be different things, but in the end of the day it's almost always your the same fear and insecurity of not being loved, or being outside the group for some reason, or not being accepted, and so I think that whenever it comes up, it's an opportunity to do the work, to go inside and ask yourself, why am I feeling that now? What has happened? What does this remind me of? When did I feel that um in my past? And
And I
why,
would add, yeah,
what are
and
the
I would add,
consequences that I'm fearful of? And then try and find what's holding you back. What is the story that you're telling yourself that is not
and
allowing you to break through?
I would add to do some somatic practice because the emotions are very much embedded in our body. So when you give yourself the space to kind of ask yourself instead of, I mean, in my case, I don't try to find out why. I say, it's okay, baby. Like, I'm afraid of this. And I said, all right, I see that that's a trigger. Let's sit down. Let's take a deep breath. I do a lot of humming. I have, if you ever want, I can give you 3 minutes of humming, which is like with your voice, you emit some sound, and that's going to make your nervous system calm. It's called polyvagal and nerve. Is going to help you to soothe. And then when you start breathing and understanding, you start seeing things differently, and then you realize that maybe that fear, that word that you say, that thing that happened, it's not actually real. It's something that is embedded in your body because
Yeah.
it's reminding you of something. So you can actually travel not back, but you stay here, and the fear kind of like becomes something else. I studied with this Buddhist teacher for many years, Thich Nhat Hanh. He recently passed from sorry, from Vietnam, and he was living in France. And the first things that I learned from him 20 something years ago was he has a book is called Anger, and another one called Fear. And I remember he was a very childlike monk. He was in his mid 80s, but he spoke very sweetly. He was like, "Little Fear, come over here. Would you like to have some tea?" So I still think of it as like, "Little Fear, beer, coffee, or tea?" And so the fear starts giggling, and I go, "Ah, I got you." And then the fear is like, ah. So it's almost like very childlike. You do these things, and then you start actually, I don't know, like accepting your humanity in such a
Yeah.
beautiful way. It's
Mm.
tender. It's really embracing yourself and not like, oh, why are you doing that again? Because we tend to be very hard, very critical, like,
Yes.
I'm doing the wrong thing. That's not okay. And it's like, according to whom? Like, this is what it is. So yeah. So I don't know if this can jump to the next thing that you had. It was like personality persona, because I
Yeah,
think it.
please take it over. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So I love the word. I love etymology. So personality and persona come from Latin, but actually in ancient Greece, they used to have, they created the theater, and then they were in the theater, they were wearing masks. So in Greek, the face is called prosopo. So these were like, the masks were like prosopon, and you were exchanging them because you wanted to play certain characters. So in a way, at this point, we have so many masks because we're playing roles in society, and that's very connected to the way we want to be recognized in the world. So you
Mhm.
say, I'm a lawyer, I'm an artist, I'm a Bitcoiner. Even saying I'm a Bitcoiner is a persona. It's like,
Yeah.
because the translation in Latin from mask is persona. So it's like a person. I'm a person. I'm embodying this, but that doesn't mean that that mask is true. Now the question is like, if you want to be authentic and you want to be free and you want to get out of the system, and you want to, yeah, you want to be free and abide by your own law, and respect property rights from other people, non-violence, blah blah blah. The question is like, how much of your life is fake as an actor? How much of this are you, oh, I'm so afraid of doing this because I'm going to lose my face in society. I'm not going to have this, the watch in the car, so people are not going to respect me. So it's very interesting to go over there and try to see how much of your persona is something that you picked from society because you want to belong to a social construct, but
Mhm.
deep inside is that you. Now I'm not saying that I'm going to go out there and when I'm doing artist thing I behave like a like I go online with my pajamas. No, of course I have this thing and I respect very much my profession, but I understand all the times that, for instance, in New York, my persona of an artist was huge. It was all my life until I moved to Miami, and I said, there are other things that I'm interested in: Bitcoin, Austrian economics, astrology, whatever. So I have different personas, but I don't identify with all of them at the same time. They're very fluid. And so they give you a lot of freedom when you know that you don't have to wear the mask. Sometimes you take it off.
That's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to put it, and that is a topic that is quite close to my heart because I am teaching the topic of personal branding for the past
Mm.
close to 10 years. And so I mean, today the way I teach it is very, very different from how I started teaching it. When I started teaching it, I was very much, I think, detached from who I really am and my purpose and my vision. In fact, one of the things that was the hardest for me to answer when I was doing the work on my personal brand is, what are my values and what is my vision? I
Mhm.
kept struggling. Like, I saw other people around me answering those questions quite easily, and
Mhm.
I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what my values or my vision was. And I kept thinking that something's wrong with me. But
Mhm.
what it was is that I wasn't talking to myself. I wasn't connected to myself. I wasn't really I wasn't really connected to my spirit, to my inner spark, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of what I was doing and who I was being and the society that I was around or surrounding myself by were quite superficial, you know, people that really care about the titles and the positions and the profession that they're in and the community and what other people next to them are saying about them, and the perception, a lot of the perception. And in personal branding, obviously there is a big part of perception. How are you being perceived by others? And that is a
Yes.
very good indication for you to know how you present yourself, because they don't perceive you in a way like out of the blue. They perceive you in a certain way because that is what you put out there. And so that's a very good mirror for people to hold in order to see themselves. And they don't necessarily always like seeing what's coming back
Mhm.
to them, what's reflected back. But, you know, what I want to say is, when I teach this today, and I do, the first exercise I do with people is building their brand identity. And when they build their brand identity, they have to break down the brand, or they have to break down the identity to pieces, different pieces. Um, and they normally start with, you know, the easiest is your characteristics. Like, if I'll ask you or anyone else, what characterizes you, what are your most, you know, your most symbolic characteristics that everyone, if I'd ask your friends or family or you would all come up with similar things or with the same things, your traits, your properties. And then we move on to the look and feel. What do you look like? What kind of
Mm.
external physique you have. You know, it may come across in the colors you wear, in the accessories, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you dress up, in just maybe in the way you walk, in your body language. Like this is your very external stuff, and that's also
Hmm.
quite easy for people to answer. And then you ask them about you start moving in deeper onto the personality. So you ask them about their values and what they care about, and many people don't know what to
Yeah.
say. They don't even, they
It's true.
struggle with, they understand the word value externally, like what I'm giving value, or what is some value that I want to get, but they don't think about what is something that is valuable for me, that, I am willing to die on that hill. What are things that are so important for me that I will surround myself with those things,
Hmm.
with being in that way. Um, so freedom, for example, is a value, right?
For
Or
me, it's the most important thing in my life is that I consider super important, my essential need, because I wanted to say values and needs are so tied together. And in
Mhm.
astrology, you can find out whatever's in your second house is going to tell you what you really value and you need. So freedom is so important for me. But then I realized that freedom can be such a like loose word. So I started for years like going like, what is freedom? Whatever. So it get into having more than one option is to be free, because if I don't have options, I will always be the subject of
Sure.
somebody else will, and
Hmm.
that is like I can die just to even think about it. Like I start shaking. It's like no, 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 I want to be free, I want to be free. But yeah, you said something very important. A lot of people, because I do study groups, my subject is values and self-worth and money at this point, because it really comes together all together. They're part of the same package. How you relate to your needs, how you relate to your values, then you know what to give meaning to your life. I think that the most difficult question, even for me at the time, is like, what do I value? So I always go back to what is it that you really need the most, because based on your needs you can create your values, and then you're going to get the meaning. But some people want to be have the meaning, but they're not taking care of values and needs. They don't take care of the needs. I did that for a while, and it was always this thing that it was not graspable, because it was this thing that you I couldn't really touch. It was more out there than inside. So yeah, I think
Hmm.
it's beautiful. So can I ask you something? So when you say
Yeah.
identity
Yeah.
in the thing and persona, so would
Yeah.
you be able to separate them, or they're part of the same? Uh,
Um, I
because for
mean,
instance,
your
in
your
a
your
brand,
persona should reflect your identity,
yeah,
right?
something like that. But then
Yeah.
you, but that also that only applies when you are facing the public, or is it part of integral or
No,
part of
that's the thing. That's
yourself?
what I teach today. That in order to build an effective and good brand that people would want to be part of or identify with, or trust, then you have to be authentic. It has to be you. If you're
Yeah,
faking it, or you put up a persona that you're not, or you're trying to be something you're not, then
yeah.
people smell it. They don't even, sometimes it's not even on the intellectual level, it's on the subconscious level. They just figure it
They
out,
know.
and they don't like you, or they don't, and they feel something is off.
Mhm.
So I think that the way I look at it today, first of all, when I come to teach it, I always tell people, remember that this is a game, because all those labels, they're just ways for us to compartmentalize and to make sense of who we are and what we feel and what we care about. So this is a tactic or a technique or a game, right? So don't take yourself too seriously, and also don't be too attached to what you write or how you describe yourself, because tomorrow morning you may change. We're human beings, we're dynamic, right? We change. You in astrology, you see that all the time. Like, we change based on the sun and the moon and the other stars. We change because there are energies coming into our lives that are impacting us, or certain person that is in our lives, or certain things that happen. So everything is dynamic, so don't get too attached to how you build your brand today, just have the core essence there, or like find your spark and be able to define your values, what you care about today, and the vision, what you see for yourself going forward. And if you need to change it, change it. And don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like you're doing something wrong. Like, it's fine. It's an it's like a natural evolution of being a human. And building a brand is just a tool. It's a tool that you have and that you create in order to communicate better and exchange better, collaborate better with people and other brands around you.
And I think that Bitcoin is like the best place. I mean, there are other places for sure, but for me, because I bring so many different things into the world, and I can have like I know that for a long time I confuse people like, what are you? Are you an artist? But you also do astrology, but you also know Bitcoin. Like, so they get, and in my astrology is normal because I have the planet of illusion and confusion is up there in the place where persona is. So when I learned that, I said I was trying to be this other person to try to be so correct, and then I was like, that's not me. So when I said, okay, what is it being me? It's like very fluid. I am this, I am that, I am that. It doesn't matter. And so when I say that Bitcoin synthesized all that, is I started coming into it just showing up who I was. No excuse. Like, I'm not looking for anything. I just want to be me. So therefore I'm going to be accepted. And this is really what I found out is like the more me I am, which is like 100% all the time, I am not having trouble. When I was trying to be the right artist in New York, I thought I was going to die. I made it to a certain degrees. Like, if you look at my curriculum, everything's like I've been around for a while. I'm a professional artist, but my heart, it was broken. Like, I was not happy. I was so broken because I was
Yeah.
giving away so much time, so much of myself in order to get that everybody says that you're going to get, which you never do because you're copying somebody else's success. Those books like how to do this in 10 minutes is like, don't even, just find your own way and
Yeah.
ask for help. So yeah, so that for me is super important.
Love it. We're coming into about an hour and a half now. So I think we
We
will
can
start
close.
wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, feel free to write to us in the comments if there's anything that you want us to chat about in the next session. And if you want to have a next session at all, it's okay. If you say, nah, I like you doing podcasts and I like Monika writing or doing her Substack, whatever, it's okay. We can take it. We're grown ups. But also tell us if you had fun and if you want to see more of this. We're open to your feedback. Um,
Yes.
Monica, last words before we wrap up this beautiful session. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna say one word that we need to really remember the whole year until half next year. It's based on astrology. Is discernment. If we don't
Okay.
know where we're going, the best thing is to kind of get back to the body and refine your instincts. Look how cats are. Look how dogs are. Not domesticated with little booties and stuff like that. Those are like already half human, but more like see how connected animals are to their instincts, and we have that. We just like forgot about it. If you're a very emotional person, take time every time that you have to make a decision, because maybe what's happening is you're jumping, you're being reactive and not responsive. Some people have their authority in the sacral, so listen to your
Yeah.
gut. People
Hmm.
will know. So I'm going to finish with this, and it's a little bit of a joke, but it's true. If it smells like shit and it looks like shit, you don't have to taste it nor touch it. Just follow it.
Stay away.
They go, oh, it looks like shit. Duh, like just follow your instinct. If it smells weird, it probably is weird. If you're going out on the street and you have a sense, follow that sixth sense, because this is what we need right now. It's not that we're in
Yeah.
danger, but the instincts are really telling us. It's a very logical stream. What tell us like what you should not be doing. Same with everything you see. Like if you are getting overwhelmed with the news and you're feeling down, everything, don't listen to the news. Try to
Right.
do some polyvagal, go dance, play some music, elevate your vibration, because we are, maybe this is a subject that I would love to talk the next time. How like sound can really elevate the space, the vibration that you're in, and
Mhm.
understanding a little bit how it works, because you can do it through meditation, you can do it through humming, you can do it just with the playing a record. Yeah, so that's what I have to say.
I
Loved
love
it.
it.
I love
And
it more.
discernment is I agree with you. It's like key distinction for this year. Um I feel like I am called to use my discernment all the time now, all the time.
Mhm,
It's like
mhm.
things happen, and there is such a bombardment of events in
Yeah,
a pace that I think the human spirit has never seen in
no,
this century. I don't know. I mean, I've only lived for 44 years, but
oh,
um
no, no, no.
yeah,
It's
but
fast.
it feels
It's
crazy. It really feels crazy, the pace of it and everything. So you really need to develop that skill to be able to discern between what's fake and what's real, or what has the potential of helping you and what's going to waste your time on, or who's someone you trust and who's someone you don't. um
yes.
and you need to work on developing that. It's like a muscle, and sometimes you'll be wrong, sometimes you'll be right, but try to listen to your gut, like you said, Monica. I think that's a really good tip. And to give you one very concrete example, like with everything that's happening right now in the US with Trump and Musk and everything, it doesn't smell good to me. Yeah, I'm like, oof, staying away, because it's yeah, I don't trust what's going on. I mean, I don't forget that politicians are politicians, and people are taking too many hope pills, I think. And it's great to have hope. Like every podcast episode I do, I finish with a message of hope. But you must stay vigilant about other agendas that are at play, like even those politicians that are doing good things right now. And many people, not just politicians, but people in life, will do good things and they'll do bad things. And you
Yeah,
have to remember that you need to judge things all the time, like judge according to what's right or wrong for you, good or bad for you. We live in a world of duality. Like that's not going to change. Like for those of you listening that think that, oh, I'm spiritual and yeah, I do a lot of meditations, or I do a lot of work. I don't disrespect that. I think that's great. I love like spiritual work,
you
but
need more
you cannot
discernment if
run
you're in that.
away from the duality of this world. You cannot ascend on and not be part of this, or just,
No,
I'm going to the fifth dimension. I'm like, I'm not here. I'm somewhere else. This
no.
this is it. Like on Earth, this is what you experience. You experience polarity and duality, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah, you'll
So,
find the synthesis. So yeah, and discernment is super important. And I want to say, like, I want to plug, I do readings, I teach human design is a very good tool to allow you to connect with your own body energetically, so you learn how to listen to those things, because some
yep.
people are confused about it. um, you don't have to do the reading with me, they're out there. So Google human design, evolutionary astrology, but it has helped me enormously, and I mix it all together, so I think, again, I am hopeful. Actually, my blog is called I'm Optimist, but I'm not stupid.
That's
uh,
true. You are optimist, but not stupid.
Not stupid at all. So
Okay,
like,
so let's just recap, because you mentioned the reading that people can do with you, but let's just recap what we said at the beginning. So, follow Monica on Twitter or on Substack, sign up to her blog. Um, you can purchase her book, you can reach out for study groups, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah, and with me, you can follow me on Twitter, on Noster, on Instagram, wherever you want. Substack, please subscribe there to my work. And that's it, I think. And if you want to If you want to ask us any questions or make any recommendations, please do that in the comments. We would love that.
Yes,
And we
absolutely.
really thank everyone for being with us. Let's see if there's anything on the chat there that I haven't said. In a thank you from Larry. Wonderful.
Alex wants to see more. Yeah, good.
Alexandra, loved it. I'd love to see more. You two are two amazing ladies. Thank you so much. This is so
Yeah.
great. Thanks, Tom, for being with us. Thank you, Bob. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Efrat.
Appreciate your time. Monica, thank you. It was lovely.
Thank you, darling. Yeah,
Catch up
we'll talk
soon.
soon. Ciao, ciao. Bye bye. Love you.
Bye bye.